Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open in the year 2080 at a colony on the moon called Little America, and the only place in the universe where gambling is legal. At a rundown nightclub, the owner Anthony sings classics like "They dug up my father's remains to install a drain."
They're moving father's grave to build a sewer.
His friend Pluto just got out of prison for smuggling and suggests the struggling singer drop the whole Scottish thing and change his name to Tony. Local mafioso Gino enters because Anthony owes him $2 million lunar bucks, which feature former President Hillary Clinton's face. He threatens to pour battery acid down Tony's throat, but Pluto offers to pay off his friend's debt by purchasing the bar instead. Probably goes through Trump Realty, since that's also a thing on the moon, and we jump forward 7 years to a renovated Club Pluto. It's become a successful business featuring live performers and horrible dancers, where Pluto spends most of his nights working the bar. He's soon approached by Dina, who's trying to find a way back to Earth, but her moon visa has expired, so she asks for Pluto's help. He served with her father back in '76, so gives her a job waiting tables to pay for a way home without going through immigration. On her first night, a gangster and his albino sidekick show up wanting to buy the place for their mysterious benefactor. They get off to a bad start when the cross-eyed Kelp puts his feet on the desk, so he's introduced to Pluto's robot bodyguard. Bruno's a '63 model security droid who dual-wields hand cannons, and although a little dated, Kelp's mother didn't seem to mind. Mogan offers Pluto 10 million Hillaries to buy the place, but he turns it down, so the thugs leave with their silly names. Before leaving for the day, Dina brings Pluto a drink that he mixes right there in his mouth and notices a picture of Anthony. Apparently he became a huge star under the name Tony Francis, and Dina is a big fan, so I guess she hasn't heard him sing. Mogan constantly calls but is refused purchase of Club Pluto, and this is still the same day when he's already blowing the place up. These real estate bullies move real fast, and when Dina saves Pluto from having his head blown off, he chases after the assassin. Dina trails behind with the 63 because his top speed is only a brisk hustle, but again, that's how Kelp's mother likes it. Speaking of the pale pursuer, when Pluto catches the shooter, it turns out he led him into a trap where Kelp's waiting with an ambush. They pin down Pluto with heavy fire when Dina arrives, distracting them just long enough for him to shoot one in the back. Dina grabs his dropped gun and blindly fires, mowing down most of the men in the room before Bruno enters to clean up the rest. Pluto then sets a pistol to turret mode while the three escape into downtown Little America and check in at the Garden of Paradise. While Bruno recharges, Dina talks about how everything was better on Earth, but Pluto says that he went there once and it smelled funny. Pluto leaves Dina watching over the fire hazard, then goes to see what he can find out from a retired police officer named Rowland. As they play a game of CGI pool, we learn that a person named Rex Crater blew up Pluto's bar, but nobody has ever seen him before. He never leaves his Moon Beach penthouse, but Rowland says there are rumors that he's a clone created by a famous geneticist named Runa. Since she mysteriously died years ago, Pluto and Dina go to see Runa's former assistant Mona, who now performs body modifications. They pretend to be a married couple wanting to revitalize their marriage, so check out several examples of commonly preferred builds. Pluto gets a little carried away with the bodily enhancements on his fake wife when he requests Mona increase the bubblage. When happy with their choices, they pay cash off the record, so Pluto pretends to be an undercover cop that's here to bust the doctor for malpractice. He requests information about Rita, but all she knows is that her last client's initials on his briefcase were WZW. We probably could have just asked for that information, and the pair return to the hotel room where Pluto's mother's spilling beans with Bruno. Flora tells her son that he needs to get off Moon when Rex's thugs somehow track them down, so our heroes hide in the room next door. When Bruno's finished flirting with the 3-year-old robot maid, he pushes over the divider between their rooms, crushing a few thugs. They're then saved by Flora, who lights up a few talking toasters, allowing Pluto, Bruno and Dina to flee to a garage. They steal a Chrysler DeSoto S5000 that's meteor resistant, hovers on a 14-inch cushion, and has a holographic chauffeur named James. He threatens to call the police, but Bruno threatens to give the dashboard a speech impediment unless the AI shuts up. They drive down the highway past the Neil Armstrong Monument, and the humans have a semi-romantic moment in the back seat.
God, he's gonna get her drunk and have his way with her.
Dina falls asleep and wakes up when they arrive at an old prospecting dome that Pluto hasn't used since his days as a smuggler. Inside they find the fembot maid Babbitt stuck in a retrieval loop, but Pluto claims that it's totally innocent and just some faulty wiring. He uses the computer to search for any criminals with the initials WZW, and when that doesn't work, searches MZM, as Mona must have seen the briefcase upside down. It turns out to be an organized crime boss from Earth named Marucci, so Pluto thinks that Rex Crater is a clone of him. He informs Rowland to check with some of his old police buddies, but unfortunately he confides in the wrong one and is murdered for getting too close. While waiting, Pluto shows off a freeze-dried chihuahua that just needs to be microwaved back to life and sells for 5,000 Hillaries a pop. They put on a movie when Pluto's contacted by his mother to tell him that Rowland has been killed and he needs to get off Moon. Shortly after, Mogan and his thugs arrive, so our team put on their spacesuits and prepare for the shelter to lose pressure. Kelp blows a hole in the side and our group hold on to prevent being sucked out into the atmosphere like the more useless of Babette's clothing. When the chambers depressurized, Rex's men move in to kill anyone still breathing, so Pluto throws Dina out of the roof. The only guy who was left outside on guard catches her, but Pluto lands on him, then kicks the henchman across the crater into a light pole. Bruno joins them in having a shootout while they race for the car that's been screaming for them to hurry up before he gets shot. A chase ensues and somehow the bad guy's bus is able to keep up with the Chrysler, so Pluto bunny hops it over a large canyon. They crash on the other side, however, and barely manage to escape before it blows up and destroys poor James the car. This causes them to be presumed dead by Mogan and them, who ignore the AI begging for help and report back to Little America. Pluto and Dina walk towards civilization, but they soon pass out from lack of oxygen, so Bruno carries them like luggage. Eventually the 63's battery runs out as well, and they're left in this compromising position until being rescued by a Puerto Rican smuggler. Felix idolizes Pluto and says that he got into the business because of him, but takes some convincing to let Bruno on board.
I'll be right back.
The smuggler had a bad experience with a fembot who went all Schwarzenegger on him mid-stroke and broke a few of his ribs. With the robot jump-started like a broken-down Buick, they hit the road and travel to the Las Vegas of no oxygen Moon Beach. As payment for helping them, Pluto signs a space helmet, then they all enter Rex Crater's casino, where Felix heads straight to the tables. Bruno has a sentient slot machine hit on him and chase him around the floor saying, "Play with me, you'll get lucky."
Wait.
Unable to get away, Bruno relents and gives this slot what she wants right here in front of everyone, but is so rough that he breaks off the lever. The robot runs away screaming like she wasn't just begging for it, and security lock Bruno up until someone can pay for the damages. When Pluto enters the casino floor, Felix is on a hot streak but turns out to be using loaded dice, so gets thrown out by security. He waits with Dina through a live performance by the now famous Tony Francis, having improved drastically in the past 7 years.
Jupiter and Mars.
To avoid security, Pluto kisses Dina, but she doesn't seem to have any complaints. Then when the show ends, meet Tony backstage. One of his wives, Gina or Philomena, is a clone of the other, but Tony doesn't care which because they both cook the same delicious recipes as his mother. Dina is given some bail money for Bruno to get out of jail, while Felix shows Pluto the secret way to get to Rex Crater. It involves leaping across elevator shafts and swinging from power cables, so Pluto says screw that and gets himself captured instead. Rex's assistant Belcher subdues him and leaves Tony downstairs, while we then get the big reveal that Rex Crater is a clone of Pluto. He was created while Pluto was in prison as a fall guy for Marucci's illegal activities, but Rex killed him and took over the operation. Meanwhile, Bruno can't be released until the slot machine's repaired, but he's done sitting around, so says goodbye to his new fembot friend. He pretends to have to go to the little android's room, but before the guard remembers that robots don't pee, he's knocked unconscious. It doesn't matter, however, because they're both recaptured and brought up to the penthouse where everyone is seeing double. Rex shoots Mogan and Kelp dead and has their bodies disrespectfully dragged away because they told him Pluto died earlier and he most likely didn't. The villain's big evil plan is to turn Club Pluto into a casino, and explains that he knew their location earlier because he inherited his memories. For absolutely no reason, Rex just wanted to reveal his big plan before shooting Pluto, but he's let him get too close, so of course they fight. It's evenly matched for obvious reasons, and Belcher doesn't know which one to shoot because somehow they're both wearing the same tuxedo. When one gets the drop on the other Pluto, he shoots Bruno, and the guards assume the real one wouldn't damage his own robot, so shoot the other. They should have known that Rex wouldn't have hesitated to shoot Pluto, so accidentally leave Belcher alone with the wrong one. He knocks out the subordinate and Bruno gets up, having been wearing a bulletproof undershirt which Pluto never leaves home without. Unfortunately, Rex also lives by this motto, so returns, but Pluto throws him through a window and onto a craps table like 20 floors below. With the clone defeated, we jump ahead to the grand reopening of Club Pluto, where Dina sings on stage and never returned to Earth. Tony's there with his wives, and upon learning that food's on the house, Felix switches his order from a ham sandwich to 8 steaks and a crate of lobsters. Bruno is down because he found out the 86 models are 220 volts while he's only 110, and adapters remove all the pleasure. He cheers up when learning that he's been promoted to club manager. Then Pluto sits down with a cigar to watch Dina on stage. And the movie ends.